Hello everybody, welcome to Unacademy YouTube channel. It's 9:06. I think it's almost a sleep time for some of you, and for you, for the rest of you, I think this is going to be the beginning of the day for all the late birds. So welcome, and today's topic is a very interesting topic, which is presentation skills. Now, if you are looking at getting into your higher education, could be your MBA or could be any other program, it is very important for you to make a presentation. If you're getting into corporate world, I'm sure you will very soon. Presentation skill is one of the most important things because you will be required to present at most often than not, right? And if you're planning to start your own business, presentation is definitely required in order to convince, in order to sell your product, in order to market your product. So that is what we're going to cover today, and we're going to talk more about what are the objectives in today's session. Before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Nitin Prabhakar. I am basically a HR professional. For 15 years, I worked in the corporates. I worked with companies such as Infosys, Satyam, 24/7, Convergys. I have headed human resources under different domains in the different verticals: recruitment, talent engagement, talent management, payroll, so on and so forth. And I always had the quest to reach out to a larger audience and explain to them the essence of soft skills, because that is one skill a lot of people were not giving focus to. And that is when I realized that I need to get myself certified, and I got myself certified in soft skills. And thereafter, for the last 2 years, I provide soft skills training in corporates and in colleges. So what I do is bridge the gap between what the college students' capabilities are and what the corporate requires, and marry both of them so that the students are readily available. And in corporates, I provide leadership training, behavioral training, soft skills training predominantly. In this session, what we're going to do is cover some of the most important elements, but we're not going to cover everything in presentation skills. We are going to give you a lot of important tips, so stay tuned. But if you want to know more, then you need to log on to the Plus course. You join the Plus course on Unacademy, and one benefit that I would want to pass on to you is you would get a 10% discount by using my referral code, which is down below, which is Nitin PKAR hyphen 4915. So use that in order to get a discount of 10%, right? All right. So with that, let's get started. What are the learning objectives from today's session? So this is what we have today. Tips to make good presentation. How do we make good presentation? There are various tips, but I would firstly start with two most important tips. I covered that as a part of my previous session on YouTube. While I was talking about communication, somebody asked me a question on how do I come out of the presentation fear. I'm going to cover that first and then talk about several other tips. How do we start a presentation? How do we make an impactful presentation is what we'll be talking about. What not to do during presentation, right? What to do is something that we're going to cover as part of the second point. What not to do is also very important, right? So we're going to cover that, and how to end a presentation. So these are a few things that we are going to cover as a part of today's session. Now, like I said, before I proceed, I'm going to start off with, before I give you all the tips, some tips that I would want to talk about is the tips to present well. Two predominant tips. And the first tip that I talk about, I would say 50% of the weightage goes to that tip. If you would want to make a presentation, most often than not, people are very fearful of making a presentation. It is told that the number one fear that everybody has is stage fright. People are really scared to make presentations. The second fear is death. So people fear making presentations over the fear of death. And thereby, in order to face the fear, in order to overcome the fear of presentation, the number one thing that is required is practice. Sounds very basic, but believe you me, this is one very important tip. The moment you are so well rehearsed, let's assume that you have a 10 minutes presentation, you have done it in front of the mirror, in front of people several times. You have done it 10, 20 times, and you know what is the next word going to be, what is the next sentence going to be, what is the next paragraph going to be. What happens? At least the thought of uh, what should I say is gone, because you have done it so many times, so you exactly know what to cover and what not to. So the fear of what to say is gone. Now you can start concentrating on your body language, the way you speak, the way you engage with the audience. Those are things that you can concentrate on. Practice is key for anybody. Even an expert needs practice. I'll just give you the story. Sachin Tendulkar once, before his match, he always practices on the nets before he goes on the nets. So he was asked, "You are such a wonderful batsman, you are a legend. Why do you need to practice? Because you're so good, why do you need to practice before you go for the match?" So he says, "The reason why I'm Sachin Tendulkar, the reason why I'm a legend is because I practice before going onto the field." Somebody who is as good as Sachin Tendulkar also thinks, feels, and realizes the need of practice. In order to achieve his level of success, we got to practice. And when we achieve his level of success, we still continue to practice what we need to do. In this case, it's presentation that we got to practice, irrespective of however good that we are. So that I would give a 50% of the weightage. In order to make your presentation successful, ensure that you practice very, very, very thoroughly. Second thing is the rate of speech. It is told that rate of speech is how fast you speak, or what is the rate at which you speak. It is told that if you keep your words between 140 to 160 minutes, or 140 to 160 words per minute, it is ideal. So if you speak less than 140 words per minute, it's slow. If you speak more than 160 words per minute, it is fast. So I would request you to do a recording of your voice and then count it for a while, and then check. Tanish Dixit, LOL, and why LOL? Oh, lots of laughter. Any particular reason? All right. So rate of speech, ensure record your conversation, count the number of words, and that will tell you as to you're doing fair, or you're doing slow, or you're being fast. The moment you hit your rate of speech, there are multiple benefits. When you go at a steady rate of pace, you by default you'll pause. The moment you pause in your sentences, there are multiple advantages. One is you start breathing. Normally when we go and make a presentation, we start speaking so fast that we don't remember to breathe. We start really fumbling because we are not able to take breath, and thereby we start perspiring, we start sweating. It looks extremely awkward, and thereby the moment you reduce your rate of speech, you are able to breathe, right? Ask questions so that when they are answering, you have the time to breathe. Ask any question as to, "Hi, I hope all of you are doing fine." Wait for say 5 seconds, 3 seconds, all right, and then you can start with saying, "What are your expectations?" So let them start talking. You get acclimatized to the stage, you get very comfortable with the stage in the meanwhile. So ask questions at that point of time. So rate of speech is one thing that I'm recommending. While you start, just ensure that you ask a lot of questions so that you get the breather, right? And especially in the beginning 1 or 2 minutes, if you would want to go slower, it's absolutely okay. I said 140 to 160 is your rate of speech. However, if you would want to reduce it between 120 to 140 in the first couple of minutes, please feel free to do so, because that is when you start being very comfortable. The moment you get that pulse, the moment you get confidence in that 2 minutes, then you can go ahead and be yourself. You can speak at the rate of speech that you would want, preferably 140 to 160, right? So that is one tip that I would recommend each one of you to do. Very crucial tip. The reason being, a lot of people do not really think about the rate of speech, and so many people that I know do not practice. They come on the stage, they fumble, they don't really perform well, and then the second time if they have to come back on the stage, they feel even more nervous. So do not give an opportunity for that. Practice well in advance, practice really good. Thereby you feel a lot more confident at the end of the presentation. When you go out of the stage, when you get down the stage, you should feel a lot more confident. Yes, I did a good job. The next time I can do better. That is the feeling that you would want to have, and for which these are two tips that I would want to talk about. Right? Moving on. How to start a presentation? What is the right way to start a presentation? I'll give you 5 seconds. You don't have to answer out, or you can text me, or you can think about it. I'll give you 5 to 10 seconds, and then I'll tell you, as per research, what is found that is the best way to make a presentation. All right, I'm sure each one of you would have thought of some techniques. Now, the number one way to create an impact, leave an impact in the minds of the audience is by a story. Now, you ask the most, there was this presentation that I was doing. I was doing it for the middle management level. So the youngest was around 35, the oldest was around 55. I asked the question, how many of you would want to listen to a story? Please raise your hand. The first hand that went up was that of a 55-year-old man. So everyone likes stories. Everyone loves to listen to stories, isn't that? So I tell bednight stories to my son, and he loves it. And similarly, this 55-year-old man said, I would want to listen to stories. And each one of us loves stories. The moment you start talking about a story, there are multiple advantages. One, to narrate a story, it's more comfortable for you, right? So it's easier for you to go ahead, start talking about a story, and then you feel comfortable, and then you can talk about the context. Now, the story has to be in sync with the presentation topic. You can't talk about a story which is X and talk about Y as a concept. No, that would not work. So link that story to the concept that you have. Stories will lead to a great impact. There are several stories that I can think of, but stories can take a minute, can take a couple of minutes, and if you think you have the luxury of time, then go ahead and use long stories. Otherwise, you might want to use short stories. Say, for example, if you think you would want to talk about time management, you might want to talk about once upon a time there was a tortoise and a rabbit, a hare rabbit. They had a race, and then during the race, then you know the story, right? You talk about that particular story, and then finally the tortoise wins because slow and steady wins the race. And then today's topic that I'm going to talk about is time management. Here the tortoise did really well to manage time. I'm also going to talk about perseverance. And so that's how you link the story to the topic that you're talking, right? I'm just giving you one short example. So that is number one way to start a presentation. The number two, I'm going to talk about the 4 best ways to start a presentation. The number 2 is question. Ask questions. Like I already told you, when you ask questions, you get time to breathe. That's the biggest advantage. The other advantage is everybody gets involved because you're asking questions. Everybody's mind is alert. Oh, maybe that question might come to me, and thereby I'm going to be completely attentive. I'm going to listen to the speaker. So questioning is a great thing. It is going to pull everybody's attention. The other advantage by questioning is it's going to be very inclusive. Always ask questions which are inclusive by nature. For example, if I ask, how many of you play cricket? Please raise your hand. There are 20 people in the audience. If I ask, how many of you play cricket? Please raise your hand. Let's assume that there are 10 people who raise their hand. Then I say, okay, I'm going to talk about cricket. So today we are going to talk about Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni, and they both are captains. I'm going to compare. So this is what I'm saying. Now, if you saw, what happens is all the people who raise the hands, which are those 10 people out of the 20 people, they all feel connected. They all feel that, hey, I know the story, I would want to listen to it. But have you ever thought what happens to those people who have not raised the hand? By not raising the hand, they have told that they do not know about cricket. But still, I'm going to talk about this. The first thing that they would do is switch off. They would not want to listen to you because they say that I've not spoken about, I do not know about cricket, but still you're talking about that particular topic, so they'll switch off. So always be inclusive. How many of you know about cricket? Please raise your hand. How many of you have played cricket? Please raise your hand. How many of you has not played cricket but know something about cricket? Please raise your hand. Now what has happened? Everybody has raised their hand. How many of you don't know about cricket? Please raise your hand. Now for all the ones who don't know cricket, I'm going to explain to you about cricket. For all the ones who know cricket, I'm going to talk later on a little more in depth about Kohli and MS Dhoni. Is everybody ready? Is everybody interested? Yes. So that is the best way to use questions. Ensure that you ask questions so that everybody is inclusive and so that it's engaging. I'll give you one more example. I'm from Bangalore. So if I have to ask, how many of you are from Bangalore? Please raise your hand. And then I say, okay, welcome to the presentation. Today's topic is presentation skills. And then I start off. What happens? All the people who are not from Bangalore would feel left out. That is the reason I would probably ask, how many of you are from Bangalore? Please raise your hand. How many of you are from Karnataka? How many of you are from South? How many of you are from North Karnataka, North India? How many of you from India? How many of you from outside India? Now what has happened? I've covered everybody and then I say welcome everybody. It's so glad to have everybody from different places. It's so glad to have unity in diversity. Our country is so mixed with different origins and I'm glad to be a part of this country. So let's get started. Is everybody ready? Alright. Can you see the kind of impact by asking the right questions and getting everybody involved? So it is going to be a very strong way to start. I would give this the number 2. The number 3 is going to be caption. Using of caption. When you start a presentation, before even you talk about the topic, you can give it a caption. Say for example, you can if you think you can. I am today going to talk about perseverance. I am going to talk about willingness. I am going to talk about the power of mind. Right? You saw there was definitely an amount of impact that is created in the ears of the listeners. What did I do? I started with the caption, which is you can if you think you can. And if you're taking the caption from somebody, you might want to also quote the individual's name. Right? Be the change that you would want to see in the world, says Mahatma Gandhi. Today, I'm going to talk about Swachh Bharat. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. It starts from within. Are you ready for it? Am I ready for it? If so, then we go to start it from within. Can you see? I'm starting with the caption, linking that to the topic. You can start with the topic and then give a caption also, that's okay. But I'm saying it's going to be even more impactful if you start with the caption and then talk about a topic and then bring a linkage. Both of it needs to talk to each other. Otherwise, it doesn't sync well. Alright, you got to take a look at that. You got to be a little cautious just so that the caption and your content matches. Okay, so that's the third best, and the last but not the least, the fourth best option to start a presentation is facts. Giving away facts. The moment you give facts, people would want to listen to facts. Let me try and do this. Hello listeners, 35% of the corporates feel one of the most important skills that one need to have is listening skills. We listen at a 125 to 150 words per minute, but we think at 1,000 to 3,000 words per minute. Today, I'm here to talk about listening skills and how to enhance our listening skills. So audience, are you all geared up for this? And can we get started? What happened now? The initial part of it was just the facts. I spoke about 35% of the business requires the top skill as listening. I spoke about 125 minutes to 125 to 150 words per minute is what we think, what we listen at, and 1,000 to 3,000 words per minute is what we think at, right? So these are what's happening. These are all the facts. So the moment you give away facts, people will love to listen to it. And then you are bringing a linkage between point one and point two. The point two is your content, right? So these are four good ways to make to start a presentation. All right. If you have any questions, listeners, please do post it. As and when you have questions, you don't have to wait for the end of the presentation in order to ask for any questions. Feel free to ask as and when you feel like. Yeah. Okay. Let me proceed. What next? We are going to talk about how do you make a good presentation. We spoke about how do you start a presentation. The other things that you need to keep in mind, some of the other tips to make a great presentation. Number one is introduction, body, conclusion. Remember that your presentation needs to have an intro, body, conclusion. Otherwise, it feels like, without an introduction, it feels like a headless chicken. It's going to go run all over the place. Imagine if I had to start today saying that, hey guys, is everybody ready? Okay, so I'm going to, one of the tips that we need to have while making a presentation is, start with a story. So what's happening? I've not told you what I'm going to talk about. I'm just starting with something which is random. And you may not be able to build a linkage to it. So please ensure there is introduction to whatever that you are going to say. Body is the content and the conclusion is, there's a difference between conclusion and summary. Summary is talking about all the things that you spoke in gist. Conclusion is your version of the whole content that you've spoken. For example, if I have to conclude, if I have to give an introduction to today's topic, I will say, hi, today I'm going to talk about one of the most important skills that is required in every individual's life, which is presentation skills. We are going to talk about how to make a presentation. And then I'm going to talk about the body of the presentation, which is going to be lengthy. And then I'm going to talk about the conclusion. To conclude, I would say that by practicing the tips that we spoke about, you will be a better presenter. It is going to take, according to me, 30 days for you to enhance your skills with regarding to presentation. So folks, all of you, I would request each one of you to make presentations, practice it well in advance, just so that you become a better presenter. So all the best to each one of you in order to make better presentations. Thank you. So what's happening? I'm concluding, I'm giving my versions, I'm giving you my tips during my presentations, right? So that is the introduction, that's body, and that's conclusion. Ensure that each one of the presentations have these three things. Now, it is not necessary only during your presentation you need to have an intro, body, conclusion. If you have to go and talk to your lecturer, if you have to go and talk to your principal, if you have to go and talk to your if you're working in your supervisors, always have an intro, body, conclusion in your conversation, because there is going to be a flow. It's basically talking about what you will talking about that particular thing, and again talking about what you've already spoken, right? Talk about what you will talk about it, and talk about what you've spoken, right? In simple words. Second, there are roughly around, I think around 15 tips that we have, all right? All of it is very important. The second one is eye contact. Ensure that you look at the other person's eye, otherwise you will lose contact. The other person will not be able to understand. The other person will start thinking. If I'm talking to you this way, if I'm making a presentation looking down, in the next 2 minutes, all of you will be switched off. I can guarantee you that you'll be switched off. So it's important for me to look into your eyes. While I'm making a presentation online and I'm doing this, it can be so distracting for you. Imagine you're meeting somebody and making a presentation in person. Why? For an interview, there are times that you need to make presentations, right? For your job interview, or it could be your higher education interview. While you're making a presentation, if you're looking at the board and making a presentation, the other people will probably be doing whatever they want to. They will probably take their mobile phones and then they'll be chatting, they'll be doing whatever that they want to, and hence it is important for you to look into the individual's eyes, just so that the other people will listen to you. Yeah. The third point, a few things before, I spoke about it in the last session. How do you enhance your eye contact. Just because, let's assume there are 20 people sitting, which means to say there are 40 eyes looking at you. Yeah, it feels a little awkward in the initial phases. So what you do, you look in between people. If there are two people, look in between them and then talk. Look in between them. Look in between here. Look in between there. You take a big U, small U. Don't look into the eyes. Look in between two people. But they would not know that you are looking in between two people. But for you, you are not looking at them, so you're a lot more comfortable. Or you can also look at the head level of the people. The moment you start looking at the head level of the people, for you, it seems comfortable. For them, it looks like you're looking at them. Because you're doing it from a distance, so they wouldn't really know. If it's roughly around 15 feet far, then it's absolutely comfortable for you to do it. If you're standing on a dais and doing it, if you have a stage and then if you're making a presentation, it's even more easy. People just wouldn't know whether you're looking into their eyes or at the head level. So that's the way you can start off, and as you become comfortable making presentation, then you can start looking into their eyes. Alright, I hope that makes sense. Alright. Now, moving on to the next point, hand gestures. One of the most heaviest part of the body while we make presentation is our hand. We would not know what to do with this hand because some people keep their hands in the pocket, right? Some people keep their hands in towards the back. Some people keep it like this. Some people keep it like this, not really knowing what to do. Imagine if I have to make a presentation to you like this. Would it be nice? I guess not. I'm sure each one of you would find it very uncomfortable if I sit this way, because this is a closed posture. Now, in the body language, on the Plus program, I cover extensively on body language as to what to do, what not to do. What does this mean? In case if I hold my hand at the back, what does it mean? Or if I hold like this, what does it mean? So all of these are covered extensively in the Plus program. I would encourage each one of you to go there and subscribe to the Plus program so that you understand exactly what is the right way in order to make a presentation. What are the body language that should be avoided, right? So hand gesture, ensure that your hand is in this particular manner. This is the confidence posture, because each one of these points have energy, and the moment you do this, there's a lot of energy that's passed out, and thereby this is one of the most advised. This is one of the most popular postures that you will see. If you see TED programs, you will see a lot of people holding their hands this way, which basically is the confidence posture. But I would not recommend you to hold like this all the while and talk. You would have to talk about it. Your hands should move along, and again, we'll talk more about hand gestures in our Plus program. Take a look at it. But few tips: don't cross your hands, because that's no. Keep it this way and use your hand in congruence. All right. So that is on the hand gesture. Next point is dress code. What kind of a dress should I wear? Is definitely a thought that will occur to each one of you. I have a program tomorrow that's happening. There's a launch of a coffee bean, and I've been invited for that particular program. I was thinking, what should I wear? What do you think is the right thing for me to wear? It is always told that you gotta dress one level up than one level down, which means to say, let's assume that if I decide to wear a jeans and a t-shirt tomorrow, and if I go there to see everybody is wearing a blazer, it will be very awkward for me. And the moment you are dressed down than the rest of them, the confidence level goes down. And that is why they say dress up. So if I wear a blazer, it's okay for me to wear a casual t-shirt, jeans for tomorrow, because it's more of a coffee bean. I don't have to go in formals tomorrow, but a blazer on top of that. And then when I go there, I see everybody's wearing blazer. What happens? There's an amount of comfort that sets in. On the contrary, I go there and see nobody is wearing a blazer. All I can do is remove the blazer, leave it in my car, or probably leave it in the coat hanger, or leave it in my hand, or leave it in the back side of my chair. All those options are there. So I feel one among them. Or if I'm still comfortable wearing a blazer, I can still wear the blazer. right? So always dress one level above. Now for your interviews, I would strongly recommend you to wear blazers. Now there could be 20, 30 people who can go for an interview, but the moment you wear a blazer, you will be set apart from the rest of them. Of course, it is going to add a little bit of value the way you look. It matters. uh, you like it or not, it can create an impact. Now what is focal point? Focal point is something that is extremely jarring, the focus area in within you. For example, for me, in my face, my beard can be focal area, my specs can be a focal area. If I'm wearing a watch which is really big, that becomes a focal area, but that can be very distractive. And it is recommended that you keep your focal area above neck. So if you would want to keep anything which is earring or bindi or your specs or your beard, all of these are okay because your focal area is above your neck. If you wear a pendant and big pendant here, that may not go well because the idea is for the listeners to look at your face, right? And thereby it's important for you to have your focal area here. Keeping a watch or something which is jazzy, a belt which is really cool, or something which is too bright, bling, may not really go well. So wear something which is pleasant, and on the top, focal area, neck bar, right? I hope that makes sense. Moving on to the next point, body posture. Now what should we do with the body? Now what typically happens is your energy comes from your body posture. Imagine if I have to talk like this, right? If I have to make a presentation like this, by default, what happens is in the next 2 minutes, my voice will go down. Eventually, probably I might be yawning. And if I have that kind of a body posture, what happens to you? Then my energy goes down and your energy will go down too. Probably you'll log off from here, or probably you'll switch on and then you'll go to sleep because I am speaking in a manner that will make you sleep. So you'll say, this is a nice thing. I have not slept for the last 2 days. I've been reading a lot. And this person, Nitin, let him keep talking. He makes me sleep, and then you'll go to sleep, right? So where do you get that energy from? It is from the body posture. The moment you go upright and then you start talking, there's a energy rush that happens, and then you start talking with a lot of energy. And that energy is required because if you want to communicate to the rest of them, if you would want to pass on a positive energy, you got to be energetic. You can give only what you have. If you have that energy within you, you will be able to spread that energy amongst the rest of them. And thereby, it is absolutely important for you to have a posture which is upright, not hunch back, no slouching, right? No relaxed posture, no cross posture, and it's just got to be sturdy. You must have seen this army men, when they speak, they have the chest up, they have the broad shoulder, right? Even men or even women, everybody has to have the posture of erect posture. It can't be sluggish, right? So that is the body posture that you need to carry. Moving on to the next point, which is stage usage. Very important. A lot of learners ask me, should we use the stage or should I stand in one place and speak? What is the advantage if I have to move and talk? My whole recommendation, please listen to me very carefully. Avoid standing in one place and speaking. The reason, if you have to just look at this for a very long time, in the next couple of minutes your eye starts drooping, right? Your eye starts drooping because your eyeball is not moving, and thereby your eyeball is just looking at one place, and over a period of time it gets tired, it feels sleepy because it's not in action. For it to be in action, what needs to be done? You got to move. The moment you move, your eyeballs move, and you turn this side, and the presenter goes this side, you turn this side. So what's happening? You are also moving. Your retina is moving. You are completely involved with the movement of the presenter. So that is the advantage number one. The number two advantage when you move is the energy levels change. When I speak from here, the energy could be different. When I speak from here, the energy could be different, right? Especially when you are making a presentation in person, the energy level changes. If you just go very close to somebody and then come back, the energy changes drastically. So please use the stage liberally, but don't overdo it. I've seen some people really walking from here to there. It's very distractive. Even the hand gesture, if somebody keeps doing this, it gets a little too distractive. So it's just ensure that it's not too much, not too less. That you can probably have a coach who can tell you whether you can record your video and send it to your coach who can probably tell you whether that's right or wrong, or you can evaluate it yourself. Be a critic. Every time that you watch your video, be a critic. What else can I do better? How else can I present better? Keep asking yourself those questions, right? Now the last point on this side of the presentation is 5 by 5. When you make a presentation, how should your deck look like? Your presentation deck, how should it look like? Should it be too many words? Should it be too cluttered? Should it how many words should it have? Thereby the rule says you should have a 5 by 5, which means to say you gotta have 5 bullet points, and in each one of the bullet points 5 words. That's about it. So if you look at this particular slide, this has 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 bullet points and not more than 2 or 3 words, which is ideal, right? But this is more of a present, the pointers, in case if there are multiple pointers added. If there are too many, if there are 10, then make it into 2 different slides. All right. One other thing that I would recommend you to do is use smart chart if possible on a presentation. Use smart charts. That's a great thing to do, right? 5 by 5. Remember, 5 bullet points, and in each bullet point is not more than 5 words. If you're using sentences, otherwise, if you want to show it like this, it's absolutely okay, right? To have a little more than 5. So that's the 5 by 5 rule. Now there are a few other tips that I would want to share apart from these, which is personalize your talk. What does that mean? Now Tanish is online, so if I ask Tanish, how are you doing? How have you been? Now what happens? There's a connect that builds between Tanish and I. When the listeners are chatting, if I ask them, hey, how have you been? And if I call out the names, it makes a whole lot of difference. One thing that I always do in my training, like I said, I'm a soft skill trainer. I train in corporates and colleges. When I train, the first thing that I do is, if there's a 15-member audience, I write down the names of everybody, and then in the next 2 to 3 minutes, I'm good with names, right? If you're presenting, it's important for you to call out the names. The moment I get everybody's name, I start calling out their names. Tanish, what do you think is your thought on this? Rahman, what do you think about this particular point? And then while we're doing this particular activity, Raj, I hope you understood this. Right? So what's happening? The moment you call out the names of the individuals, they would love to listen to it, isn't it? If a presenter is calling out your name, what happens? 2 advantages. You build a rapport with that person. Number 2, your attention is completely focused. Now the presenter knows my name, I might as well listen. Now what's going to happen? You're going to completely listen. There's going to be a complete involvement in the overall presentation. A very powerful technique. Not many people use it. A lot of people say, I'm not so good with names, so tough to remember. I'm so sorry. If you're making a presentation, there are no excuses. If you're not good with it, sorry. Learn tips and tricks in order to remember the names. I'll just give you one other tip. If say there are 20, normally presentations will have not more than 12 to 15. Let's assume there are 15 people. Now there are 15 people, ask them for the names. So if it's Nitin, have a book and pen in your hand, write Nitin, Unacademy t-shirt. Kavita, specs. Raj, beard. Rupak, check shirt. So what's happening? You are able to relate everybody to the dress or their appearance. And next time you would want to talk to, and once you're done with it, just go around the table just to remember how many names you know, and the names that you don't know, you can always go back and say, black t-shirt, Unacademy, Nitin. Okay, so that's Nitin. Alright, so what's happening? You are able to remember the names of the presenters. Alright, so if you go for an interview and if there are people who are presenting, it is not necessary for you to remember the names, because normally they are addressed as sir and ma'am. So it's the safest thing. But if you're going in for a job interview, it's still okay to say Nitin sir, Priya ma'am. All right. So it's okay to call out ma'am or sir. Some of the corporates don't have the sir and ma'am culture, so you can say Nitin or Priya, Dikshit, whatever that is. All right. So personalizing your talk. Like I said, viewers, if you have any questions, please do shoot it then and there. Don't have to wait for the end of the presentation to ask me any questions. All right. So personalize your talk, and then moving forward, I would talk about answering questions. During my presentations, one of the things that we also do is check on the presentation skills of the students. And one thing that I've noticed when some of them are making a presentation is they ask questions. Now, okay, Nitin has told, ask questions during a presentation, so questions are being asked. But the moment there is an answer, there is not even a reciprocation. If somebody answers, they say, okay, anybody else? No, that is wrong. Anybody else? No, that's not the answer. And then they go on. So what is happening? The people who are giving an answer are being snubbed. They are put down, which is not okay. It is important for us to respect, value every individual who's sitting there. If somebody is answering, we say thank you so much. That's the right answer. If somebody's answer is wrong, thank you for trying. However, that is not the right answer. Thank you so much for trying. I'll get back to you. You're partially right. So what is happening? You're thanking everybody for answering. You don't have to necessarily say thank you for to each and everybody, but you need to acknowledge. You need to acknowledge that they have answered your question. So you might want to say, that's the right answer, give them a big round of applause. Not the right answer, but a great try. So what's happening is you are encouraging everyone to participate in your question and answer session. So always acknowledge the ones who are giving answer. Always elicit answers from people so that everybody is engaged. The moment you personalize, say for example, Raj, what do you think about it? So what happens? Raj is, if he's sleeping also, yes sir, and then he will give an answer, or sorry sir, I didn't hear. So what's happening? Indirectly, Raj will understand that he needs to pay attention. So a lot of advantages. Now the next one, no targeting. If somebody has given a wrong answer, sorry, what wrong answer? Excuse me, can you keep quiet? What happens is, in a group of 15 people, even one person feels left out, or if they feel that they have been put down, it leads to a lot of negative energy. Say for example, you have said, Nitin, please don't participate. Nitin, please stop giving wrong answers. What happens? I will feel so low. There are 3 other friends looking at my face, even they will feel low. And eventually during my tea break, everybody says, what bad presentation. Is that the way to speak? So everybody's interest towards listening goes off. So you can't directly or indirectly target anybody, come what may. We cannot target anybody, and that is one of the ground rules in a presentation. If somebody is late also, let's assume if somebody is late, in your case it may not be the immediate situation because your presentations are going to be predominantly focusing on your interviews for your colleges or corporate. This may not be the case, but I'll give this to you because you could make presentations at a later point of time. If somebody comes in late, if you say, excuse me, why are you late? You can't come in late. Can't you understand? You're being extremely rude. Either you say, so sorry, we are in the midst of a presentation. Is it okay if you can join the next class? Right? So you're still telling them not to, but you are being very pleasant. You're being very kind. You're being very soft and gentle. You're not screaming. You're not being rude at anybody. Right? So no targeting anybody whatsoever. Right? Moving on to the next point. Never ever memorize. However, if you are somebody who is absolutely comfortable with memorizing, I will still, if it works for you, go ahead with it. But I personally feel extremely scared to tell others memorize, because If you're somebody who's very good at memorizing, let's assume that you forget one or two words. What happens? You completely got stuck. You forget one sentence. What happens? You don't know what to speak next. You are stuck. Thereby, it is important for you to ensure that you just make bullet points of the things that you need to speak. For example, what are you seeing right now on the slide? It's all bullet points. Never memorize. I did not memorize each one of these points. The topic is never memorized, so I'm just going to talk about it from my experience, from my practice that I've done in my past. I have not written all of these down and just saying the way it is supposed to be. And the moment if I have written something down and I'm reading it out, you will all come to know that this is not a presentation, he's reading it out. Might as well give us the notes, we'll read it ourselves. Right? Why do you want a lecturer if they have to read out something? So, don't memorize, give your experience, give your your own side of that story from your perspective, and just keep those bullet points, and over and beyond you can always start talking about it. Fair? Okay, we have, I think, another 2 points. We have covered each one of it, and the next one is open with an apology. Is it okay to open with an apology? Let's assume that you have not come prepared for your interview presentation. You go there and you say, so sorry sir, I was not able to prepare yesterday because I slept late. We had another project to do. I am really busy on the project, and then hence I was not able to prepare, but I'll try and give my best. Is it okay? Think through. It is absolutely not okay, because you're starting on a negative note. You're making the listeners believe that this presentation is going to be awful. You're making the listeners believe that this is going to be one of the worst presentations. You're making the listeners believe that they are going to be tortured during your session. You're making the listeners also believe that they are going to sit through a presentation which has not been rehearsed. Why should they even sit? So, my recommendation here is always start on a positive note. Let's assume that you're coming late for a presentation. What should you do? I'm so sorry for being late. Traffic jam. So sorry it was raining. So sorry I left late. No, nobody will say I left late, because you would not blame yourself, right? So traffic, rain, I could not find the place. Could be any of those reasons. Stop starting on a negative note. Instead of which, you can always come in and then say, hey guys, I'm so thankful to each one of you for waiting for me. Now that you've all waited for me, it's my responsibility to ensure that I give you a great learning experience in the next 30 minutes. Are you all ready for it? Great. Now that you are all ready for it, today's topic is going to be the presentation skills. So, welcome everybody. But before we start, I would just want to apologize once because I've come late. But like I said, I'm going to make up for this. You're apologizing, but when you've given a great start, you've started with positivity, and then you say, hey, you know what, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to make up for this, and then you go ahead. So your message, you're communicating very strongly that I'm late, I'm sorry about it. But that is somewhere hidden between the positive messaging. Right? These things matter a lot. Nobody would have told you these are things that are important, but it can make a whole lot of difference. Alright? So always start on a positive note. Always start with a lot of energy. Always start with something that's good. Something that, unless your topic in itself is traffic jam in the city. Now that's a slightly negative topic that you're talking. So you can't talk about anything. So you can't start with positivity typically there. But don't start with a negative note on yourself, that I have not come prepared, or I am late, or I lost my pointer and thereby I don't have a pointer, or screen show, or so sorry. So no negative notes, right? Start with positive note. And the last point out here is talk about your own experience. Yeah, talk about your own experience. People would love to listen to your side of the story. The experience that I shared a few minutes back, I'm sure each one of you would remember that when I make a presentation, I was talking about the story, right? In schools, I make a presentation and people don't really look into the eyes. Those are examples that people would want to listen to from your experience. What is that you have learned? What is that you have overall and such through your experience? When I failed, how did I respond? When I succeeded, how did I respond? In a difficult situation, what did I do? Those are things that people would want to learn from you. Otherwise, the other things which is bookish by nature, those are things that people can. Now, today's in the e-learning platform, anyone can just Google, YouTube, and they can learn so many things. But your experience will be unique to you. Nobody else would have had your experience. That's the beauty. The way you have learned it can be completely different from the way others have learned it. Now, because it's unique to you, give your examples, your experience. That is what listeners would want to listen to. In your interview, talk about your experience. Most often than not, in an interview, when somebody asks a question, they say, we in the project did this, we in the project did that. Well, we is fine. What did you do? Talk about your experience. While we were doing this, I personally went and did this. I personally experienced this. There was a failure, and I helped the whole team recover by giving this particular idea. Talk about I, which is okay. It's absolutely okay. If you have done it, go ahead and talk about it. Of course, I'm suggesting you to be honest, right? So even in your presentation, it's absolutely okay to talk about your own experience. People will love to listen to it. Yeah. Okay, what not to do? There are a few things that I already said. Hands in the pocket. Now, if you are going in for stand-up comedy kind of a stuff, it's okay. It's absolutely okay to keep your hands in the pocket, because that is cool posture. But if you are going in for an interview and if your hands are in your pocket, it comes across as that you are somebody who's very casual by nature. So it is a no-no to keep your hands in your pocket. I've already told you what you need to be doing with your hands. Display your hands, ensure that it's you express through your hands or your positive confidence posture, right, through which you're going to talk. Hand at the back, what does it mean when your hands are at your back and then you're making a presentation? Any guesses? Think through. Alright, so hand at the back typically means it is a superiority posture. You feel superior. Now, you must have seen your lecturers, your principal, your parents must have that posture of hands in the back, and that is the superiority posture. If you have that posture in front of your client, in front of your lecturers, in front of your principal, in an interview for your a higher education, they would not like it. They would not like it because it's a superiority posture. While you're talking to somebody senior, how can you hold your hand like that is a question that arises. And thereby, please ensure that you don't keep your hands in the back. Hands clenched, this is a frustration posture. Right? This is a frustration posture. This is again a no-no. Again, go back to our body language course on the Plus program. We have covered each one of it very beautifully at length as to why this should not be done. Now, these are closed postures, so if you keep it like this, it's more of a frustration posture. So avoid doing this. Eye contact. If you're looking down, it can indicate that you're not very confident. If you're looking up, it could mean that you're a visual learner. It could mean that you're forgotten, you're thinking, you're imagining, all of those, right? So if you're not looking into the face, into the eyes of the audience, you will lose them quickly. They will just forget you. They will start thinking, I told you 1,000 to 3,000 words per minute, so they are in their la la land, they're thinking about whatever they want to, because you're not even looking at them. They will open their mobile phones and they'll start answering. So eye contact is mandatory. There are a few other things that we said which you should not be doing, which is opening with an apology. We also spoke about do not memorize. We spoke about do not target, right? And no being rude. If somebody asks a question, you can't just keep you can't not answer. You got to acknowledge all of them. So these are all the things that you are not supposed to be doing in a presentation. It is okay if somebody asks you a question and if you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, you know what, I don't know everything. That's a brilliant question. That gives me an opportunity to learn a new thing today. I'll learn it and come back and give you an answer. Isn't that a very positive way to say? And the listeners will also say that, hey, this person is so humble, does not know the answer, and is accepting, which is a very, very, very humble thing to do. If you don't know something, people try to give you answers which are incorrect, which are inappropriate, which is not right. That is why, please give answers that you're very sure of. If you do not know the answer, it's okay to say, hey, I do not know, but I'll learn. Thank you so much for asking. Right? Any questions so far before we move on to the next slide? I guess not. No questions so far. All right, so moving on. I will be talking about my last tip for the day, which is an elevator pitch. What is an elevator pitch? You get stuck in an elevator. Now, this is another thing that we have covered in the Plus program, but I would want the viewers on YouTube to know about this. Each one of us are a brand ambassador to ourselves. Elevator pitches, let's assume that you are stuck in an elevator, which is your lift, and the person next to you is the most important person, your role model, who's standing there. It could be Ratan Tata, it could be Bill Gates, it could be, say, Sachin Tendulkar, it could be anybody, whomever that you idolize. Imagine they are standing next to you in the lift. What happens? You would want to introduce yourself. How do you introduce yourself within those 30 seconds is what elevator pitch is all about. So each one of us should have an elevator pitch and a very strong elevator pitch. In order to have an elevator pitch, there are 5 important elements that we're going to talk about, which is number one is greetings. The moment you see your most idealistic individual, wish them. Hello sir, hello ma'am, it's so lovely to see you here. I'm so glad to see you here, right? Whatever that is. Next, introduction about yourself. I'm Nitin Prabhakar. I'm a soft skills trainer. I change people's life. Or my job is to change people's life, right? So what's the second point is you're giving this quick, interesting introduction about yourself. You would not just say that I am a soft skill trainer, I train in corporate, I train in institute, I have done so many things. Those are things that may not interest them. If I have to say that I do a job of shaping people's career, I do a job of enhancing people's personality. Now those are things that they might want to say. So what is your introduction? Write down your introduction. The third is what's in it for me. So what's in it for me is what's in it for your idol, right? More than saying can I get an opportunity in your company so that I can grow, I can deliver this, I can do this, don't talk about I, talk about them. In this case, because I'm a soft skills trainer, I would say, every organization would have I would probably say any organization that has any attrition related issues, absenteeism, the people morale is low, the employee satisfaction is low, those are things that we would fix. Those are our expertise. So what is happening? I'm talking about what's in it for them. What's in it for the person in the elevator? What's in it for the client? What's in it for the principal? Right? If you take me into your college, what's in it for you is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the advantages that you as a college would have if you take me. You as an organization would have a lot of advantages if you hire me. So I'm going to talk about what's in it for you, right? So that is WIFM. I would talk less about me, I would talk more about you, right? What's in it for me from the person in the elevator. Then, so this is what I do, and if I want to talk more about it, whom should I contact, sir? So the person, you're not going to ask, can I contact you? The moment if you give an option of can I, then there's a possibility of you listening to a no. So in order to pursue this, in order to talk more about this, in order to get to a closure on this, in order to move ahead with this, in order to progress, whom do I reach out to? So you are not given an option of yes or no. So they'll say meet me on this time, or they'll say meet my assistant, meet the HR, meet the HOD, meet the lecturer. They're going to put you on to the right people. And what happens the next time when you need to meet the right people? Hey, you know what? Mr. So and so wanted me to meet you. So there is a reference. The moment there's a reference, there's a high possibility of a correct, right? So how to contact you done, and then you thank the person. It is so lovely meeting you. You are my idol, and my day is made today. Thank you so much. So you end on a positive note. So that is your 5-step process for an elevator pitch. I would recommend each one of you to have an elevator pitch. Please go there, spend that 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and have an elevator pitch for yourself, because you do not know when it is required. Even in an interview, if your lecturer, if your principal asks you, tell me something about yourself in 30 seconds, what happens? You will be caught on a back foot. And thereby, it is important for you to have this elevator pitch at every given point of time in your life, right? All right. So for today we have covered what are the most essential things that you need to do in presentation. Some of the tips, the two most essential tips, and then thereafter we spoke about how do we start a presentation to make it very impactful. We spoke about what are the other essential tips that you need to have in order to make a very creative, interesting presentation. We spoke about elevator pitch. Now your end of the presentation is as simple as your start of the presentation. Go back to your start of the presentation. You can end it in the same manner. You can end it with a story, your questioning, caption, or you can come up with facts, and then you can end your presentation. So these are the ways you start, that's the way you absolutely end. Now that will have an introduction, body, conclusion with a caption or a story, and then you close the entire presentation, and that will be a presentation to remember. People will love the presentation. So all the best. I would want to wish each one of you the very best. I'm really hoping that this session has helped you in one or many ways to be a better presenter, and I'm really hoping that this session has added value to you. And if so, please like, share, follow, and subscribe to Unacademy page. Please like this page, share it to as many people as possible, because this is an important skill that is required by all. Follow me on Unacademy. And like I said, here what we've done is just covered the glimpse, the gist of presentation skills. If you want to know it at length, I would urge you, I would request you, I would welcome you to be a part of the Plus program on Unacademy. And like I already said, the moment you come there, there is an advantage that you will get a 10% discount on your subscription, which is by using my referral code, which is Nitin PKR hyphen 4915. And if you do so, you can avail the discount. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in multiple other sessions, and also looking forward to seeing you in the Plus program. Do you have any questions at this point of time? I'm going to wait for the next 30 seconds before I sign out. Any questions, please bring it up. Well, I guess not. I waited for 30 seconds. There are no questions. So I'm going to sign out. Have a great evening. Good night. See you all. Bye.